The Indian Super League fixtures for the 2022-23 season are out at last. Naturally, this is a day that always gets fans of Indian football excited, but this time around, the new fixtures come with some more rather interesting talking points, and that, of course, includes things like a revised fixture schedule and, of course, more matches being held on the weekend side of things, and perhaps most importantly, a new playoff format that gives more teams a chance of actually making it to the final. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Sports Today. My name is Shane Dias, and today we are going to look at some of the interesting talking points from, of course, the fact that the fixtures for the latest season of the Indian Super League are now out there in the public at last. Now, the first major thing that, of course, you want to know is which teams are playing who in the first round of fixtures. Now, obviously, such is the nature of league football that having a good start or starting off against teams who you think would be easy to beat is often an important thing. So let's look at the first weekend's fixtures that we will be seeing once the league gets underway in October. Now, the first major fixture of course, this year, the first fixture will be Kerala Blasters will be hosting East Bengal. Now, that's the first major fixture, and it is worth noting that normally speaking, you always will see in certain tournaments that the champions will open, the round of matches. That hasn't quite happened this time around. In fact, the champions don't actually play till the third match day, or in fact, the third time of asking when it comes to the scheduling. So, this Kerala Blasters versus East Bengal. So, East Bengal fans will be, of course, glad that they're going to be kicking off the ISL this time around. Bangalore FC is going to be taking on Northeast United in, of course, the Kantirava in Bangalore. The defending champions Hyderabad FC will be returning home for the first time since they actually won the trophy last time around, and they'll be hosting Mumbai City FC, who we know for a fact are a pretty strong side. ATK Mohan Bagan will be hosting Chennai FC in these two teams first round match. And to round things off, you'll have Jamshedpur FC hosting Odisha FC in the final fixture of Matchweek 1. Now, obviously, you can see there's some interesting matchups there, especially considering the fact that ISL clubs are already busy kind of strengthening their squads and actually, bringing in new players, sending away players who their coaches don't need. There's a lot of activity, there's a lot of buzz. So, really, at this point, I'd say none of these matches, any team start as clear favorites as such, but obviously, very excited to see all of these particular matches take place. However, more so than just the fixtures, or rather, which team plays who on which particular day, there are other talking points or more interesting things to focus on beyond just this. And of course, we're going to be taking a look at just those right now. So the first thing, if you look at the schedule, that you'd notice is that aside from the first match week where you'll have a few weekday fixtures, other than that, almost every match day will feature matches taking place on Thursday, Friday, Saturday and Sunday. So why this has been done is, and this is something that the organizers said in the release and when they were announcing the schedules, they said that this was to bring the ISL and Indian football in line with the way leagues are held around the world. So you would have most matches taking place on weekends. Why that is the case is that you can actually improve the experience for match-going fans. We know for a fact that ISL clubs, at least in recent times, thanks to COVID, have been playing in front of empty stadiums. So, but despite that, there is an active, effort being made to ensure that more fans can actually travel to the stadiums, and that is not just about viewership numbers on streaming and TV. They want fans to come to stadiums to pay their money and actually be part of the match, because, as you know, it's true for any live sport. What exactly is it if fans are not there? And that's especially true for football, where fans are such an active part of, they'll be chanting things, they're cheering, booing, all of that going on. It's a very, very integral part to a match, and players actually feed off that energy. So it's good in a way that there are efforts being made to actually give match-going fans, easier time, rather than have it happen on the most random of days, on weekdays, or at times when people would be actually in office. And in keeping that in mind, the second most important talking point is that most weekends will actually feature double header encounters. Now, obviously, it's not like, say, Saturday and Sunday, if there's a match being played, that both days will have two matches each. No, that won't be happening. But on every single match day, there is two matches either on a Saturday or on a Sunday. So that is also important because it does, of course, as I say, ties into the previous points and gives match-going fans more of a chance to be part of the experience if these matches are held on a weekday. But perhaps more importantly, what the ISL has done this time around is change the playoff format. Now, of course, you remember the previous playoff format was that the top 4 teams from the league stage would make it through to the semi-finals. The playoff would take place there. Then, of course, 2 teams through to the final. Whoever wins the final, crowned champions. This time around, they've actually made it a little more open-ended and a little more exclusive to other teams. Now, you remember that the ISL currently has, 11 teams. So this time around, the top 6 teams all potentially have a chance of making it to the final. How so? Well, if you finish in the top 2, then you qualify directly for the semi-final round. But the teams who are there from teams spots 3 to 6, they'll be playing each other in a one-off, playoff. So the teams will be playing each other. So those 4 teams, will be 1-1 match each featuring those teams. They'll play a one-legged playoff, and whoever wins that playoff will then make it through to the semi-final. From there, those 4 teams will contest the semi-final, and of course, whoever wins the final gets to keep the trophy. Now, this of course is just the change that has been made in the ISL. Now, if you'd have known, or if you've been following the news cycle, you'd also know the fact that there have been concerted changes being made beyond that, not just to improve the length of the Indian football season for the ISL, but for the Indian football season in general. So there have been bigger changes made this year as well, and I thought it important to actually talk about these particular changes as well, because this year, remember, there has often been a very common complaint, not just from Indian national head coach Igor Stimac, but also from players and managers in the clubs, that the season can often feel a little too short. So this time around, there's an effort there to actually give teams more matches to play. In fact, the AFC, who of course govern the sport in Asia, have said that ideally speaking, each team should be playing at least 27 matches per year. That's a benchmark figure that they've set. And keeping that benchmark figure in mind, this year there's going to be 2 domestic cups that are taking place in Indian football, which will increase the number of matches that all of these teams play. So of course, the Durand Cup, as we know, the third oldest knockout football club competition in the world, and India's oldest football club competition, is currently taking place before the league season commences. But there are stakes to that tournament as well, because the team that actually wins that will end up getting into the qualifying rounds for the AFC Cup, which is of course the second tier European competition behind the AFC Champions League. So there are clear stakes there as well, and we'll also be doing some more analysis on those matches when we reach the knockout phases, so keep an eye out for that. But besides the Durand Cup, there is also the Super Cup, and that will be taking place after the league season comes to an end, and will again also feature teams from not just the ISL but also the I-League. So there's going to be more matches for football clubs across the pyramid, so that's always a good thing, that you'd be playing more competitive matches, and that the AIFF is actually trying to reach that benchmark number of at least 27 matches per season for every team. Now, you know for a fact that in countries that actually have a more robust footballing system, that they play far more than 27 matches. In fact, if you watch Europe's top flights, most teams will play at least 38 league games, never mind of course cup competitions that come beyond that. But it's a good start, especially considering that the season is so condensed that they really did need to spread it out over the calendar. And of course, the more important thing is that more teams will be playing more matches, and that the domestic calendar is going to go on for longer. So remember, October there will of course be the league is when it begins. So October the league begins, and in the end of February is when the league stages end. That means October, November, December, Jan, Feb, and that's it. 5 full months this time is going to be the time that the ISL is going to be taking place over. Of course, Durand Cup has been taking place before that, and even after that you will have the Super Cup. So that means that the season is longer and not just focused on, of course, the league structure. So that's a good thing, because the players will get to play more matches around the year. It gives them chances to actually stay match fit, stay sharp, and that of course will also lead to improvements in the Indian team as well, because you will not have to be holding too many national camps, or concentration, or camps for holding fitness and things like that. That will of course that does happen. Actually, it's a very common thing in Indian football, but now with players staying more fit, it will actually make international football easier as well. However, that being said, I will also go out there and say that there are more changes that ideally can be made. Of course, we know for a fact that there's been a lot of talk about that there's no promotion and relegation between the ISL and the I-League, despite the fact that the ISL is recognized as the top league and the I-League is the second division. There's no promotion and relegation that takes place, even though the roadmap that had previously been agreed on by the administration that has actually now been booted out by the Supreme Court did specify that relegation and promotion would be happening from this season or the next season. So that hasn't obviously happened. But of course, there are other complications, because you'd remember in the time that the Supreme Court put in the Committee of Administrators, India ended up getting temporarily banned. Then the Committee of Administrators was dissolved. It was given back, the control of the AIF was given back to the General Secretary, so India's suspension was revoked. In between all of that happening, one thing that also got missed out was the fact that the COA mandated that the top league of the Indian football pyramid be the one that is controlled by the AIFF. Now, the one that is entirely controlled by the AIFF is, of course, the I-League, not the ISL, but the ISL is the top league based on the master rights agreements that IMG, Reliance and Star signed with the AIFF that actually promised them the billing of top league. So there's a lot of complications still to be sorted out, but what I will say of the current season at least is that it's a start towards actually making the Indian football scene a bit more professional, a bit more robust. So that's always a positive sign. That is actually a good thing, because it shows that there are changes being driven through, albeit at a slow pace. But I will laud the fact that there is in fact change happening, but there is a clear desire that more needs to be changed. However, that being said, I'm still excited to look forward to the new season of the ISL. But enough about me. What about you guys? Who do you think look favorites for the ISL this year, and which is the team that you're rooting for? Let us know in the comments below. We love hearing from you, and don't forget to like the video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And of course, tap the bell icon so that you know when it is we're going live or uploading a new video for you guys. Don't also forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Last but not least, download the SportsTech app for breaking news updates from the world of sport. Thank you so much for joining us. I've been Shane Reyes, and I hope to see you all again very, very soon.